This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
Hey, this is Brian Peña. I always join the Vito podcast, the best podcast in the United States.
And welcome to the latest, the freshest edition of Tiger's Talk with Chirco and Company. I am your host, Vito Geronimo Chirco, alongside my usual sidekick and broadcast partner and fun. That is the Doc from Doc and Jock, John Charles and Matt Garoon. John, I am glad to still have a job over here at the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, talking with you as we look at some MLB playoff action as well.
It's playoff time, baby, and what better way than to talk baseball on a Wednesday than with my guy, Vito. What's up, sir?
Well, how about this, too, to start off with the playoff conversation? As we are recording this, Verlander will take the mound, JV that is, for the Astros in Game 4 against the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays won Game 3 to force this Game 4. So Astros look like they're going to end up winning this series. Yankees swept the Twins. The Twins have lost now 15 or 16 straight, I think 16 straight playoff games. As about the Twins, how bad their recent playoff success has been. I mean, it's no playoff success right there from the Twinkies.
What bad luck for Minnesota fans having a season where you go 101-61 and you draw the New York Yankees. Ugh. And look, at the end of the day, Minnesota doesn't stack up against the Yankees and they move on. So Houston, New York might be an unbelievable ALCS. I'm definitely excited, and the playoffs have been very, very competitive. You know, Vito, for me, in the National League, I'm kind of hoping for a Dodgers-Braves NLCS. I think it'd be very competitive. Man, you know, whenever you get a chance to check out Max Scherzer in elimination games, he definitely steps it up. What a series. Dodgers, Nationals right now. But I'm kind of hoping that, the Dodgers do, in fact, move on, because what a story it would be if they can get to 3 straight World Series and maybe take it down. You know, a potential Dodgers-Yankees World Series or a Dodgers-Houston rematch. Woohoo! The playoffs have been fun. It's been fun to peek into. And I think I saw on Twitter, too, someone had noted that it's nice to see the playoffs take place every single day, whereas in the NBA, they space out the games like, 3-4 days in between games, and just the sheer number of playoff games have been definitely enjoyable to watch.
Walker Buehler is starting for the Dodgers in Game 5. Steven Strasburg, who has been Straw's money. Okay, he's been money all throughout the postseason so far, including out of the pen. He's saved the behind of Max Scherzer already in a game. And Strasburg has gotten it done so far. And he's pitching Game 5, and I kind of like the Nats now, a team that I've liked. I've been riding for a while. I've been on the Nats bandwagon for a long time now, John, and this is a mighty tough task to eliminate the Dodgers in the first round. Remember, this is the greatest regular season team, wins-wise, in Dodgers history. And it is 27 outs now from becoming the latest source of anguish for a city that has waited now 30-plus years for its next World Series championship. So it would be an upset. Really quick regarding the Twinkies, too, losing. The first 100-win or more club to lose and get swept in the first round. How about that stat? First team to win that many games as the Twins did in the regular season, and they get swept. Not to even show any fight, really. And they got swept by the Yankees. That should not have happened. It did. And honestly, going into Game 3 on Monday night, I thought, John and myself, with the Twins' recent playoff history, now 16 straight losses in the playoffs, they weren't winning that Game 3. There was no way in my mind. I thought the Rays, who got it done in Game 3, had a better chance of winning than the Twins in their respective Game 3. And the Rays were just a wild card team. And I thought they had a better shot of winning that Game 3 against the Houston Astros than the Twins had at winning Game 3 against the Yanks. And guess who was right? The genius over here. Stable genius. Vito Jerome Chirco. Do you like that and what I did right there? Maybe a little shout out or in reference to somebody else in the White House. But anyways, had to give you that. And that is really what I had to say or have to say so far about how the first round of the playoffs have gone on both the NL side and the AL side.
Yeah, the playoffs have been definitely exciting. Who do you think right now, among the teams that remain, is the odds-on favorite to win the World Series, to win it all?
Well, I still think Houston, which I would have said before, too. I think Houston Nats.
They got the pitchers, man.
I'm picking a surprise in Washington, but Houston with that rotation, man. Greinke was lit up, though, in Game 3, by the way, at the Tropicana Field in Tampa Bay, where nobody shows up until it's the playoffs. So people were there, actually. Loud and proud, great, raucous atmosphere. Where's that crowd during the regular season? They say it's too hard during rush hour to go across town to get to these games at the Trop. But you're doing it for the playoffs. You're making it happen, and you're having a nice, raucous crowd, a lively atmosphere. Do it during the regular season as well, Tampa Bay Rays fans. It's not going to happen, though. But anyways, Rays, is it going to happen where they upset the Houston Astros, come from behind now in that series and win? No. Verlander, I think, gets it done in Game 4 as well on Tuesday. So the day in which we are recording.
And unfortunately for the USPBL pitcher, Randy Dobnak, he was tasked with pitching Game 2 against the Yankees, and unfortunately, they lit him up. And
they did. He looked all right, start off, but then the Yankees got to him. They did.
Now, in looking at the playoffs, I do want to be critical of one decision that was made. The Washington Nationals, you got to look at it and you say, they sometimes put themselves in a tough spot, okay? Anibal Sanchez was going along and he was pitching well, okay? And I think it was Game 3 or Game 4. And Anibal Sanchez is the starter, and he only gives up maybe a run. He doesn't give up a whole heck of a lot. Then the Nationals decided to go to their bullpen, and the LA Dodgers lit him up. And, you recognize, the strategy, but I just feel like sometimes these managers are just not willing to ride the hot hand. And I know when you make the decision, you're expecting the guy to go out and execute, but I think it was a bad decision. Anibal Sanchez was pitching very well, and he was limiting, and he was, putting together a nice performance. I think you could have gotten a couple more innings out of Anibal Sanchez, and it really did cost the Nationals the game.
It did in Game 3, you're right. And you know what? Sanchez was thriving, was succeeding, but it's an older dude. Corbin is a stud pitcher, great season, much better regular season. Got lit up, though, so it was risky business already from the start for Dave Martinez, the manager of the Nats, and it bit him in the behind, going to Corbin there, out of the pen, and Corbin not used to pitching from coming out of the bullpen. But in the grand scheme of things, guess what? They have forced a Game 5, and I get his logic there. Dave Martinez's logic was Sanchez is an older dude. Let's not leave him out there and extend his leash too long. And then you risk Sanchez getting rocked as well. So Corbin, a fresher arm, younger guy, better regular season arm, comes in, tries to get it done, doesn't, gets rocked, Nats lose. But they have forced a Game 5, and I really like the Nats' odds of pulling off the upset in Game 5 and winning this series in the first round, John.
Game 5 in L.A.?
Game 5 in L.A. Dodgers, a franchise record, 106 victories. Could be a losing Game 5, and I think they will, so they won't reach their third straight Fall Classic because of that.
Look at you, Vito, making the prediction. This week, we have a great guest. Tell me about that, and what are we going to talk about in the second half of the podcast?
So, Muneesh Jain is his name. And now, this is a guy that has toured all 30 Major League Baseball ballparks. We saw him at Comerica on opening day. He's a Tigers guy, wears the Tigers hats at all these different ballparks as well. Now, going to all these different ballparks and all these different cities helped him battle and fight depression and anxiety. So, he has a really good story with that as well, and all of that and more will be shared by Muneesh on this episode of Tigers Talk.
How many ballparks have you been to? Just one?
Not 30. No, I'm going to say about 10 to 12 probably. So not 30, but Also, I was at Old Nationals ballpark. It was RFK, where the Redskins played. Now it's Nationals Park. So I haven't been at the new Nationals ballpark. I was at the old Busch Stadium as well. But I've been to Fenway Park, to Wrigley Field, to the south side of Chicago. I've been to quite a few. Jacobs Field, when it was Jacobs Field, now it's Progressive Field in Cleveland. So I've been to quite a few now, actually. And I went to a lot of them at a young, tender age, by the way. Now I haven't been to really any in a good span of 10 years. Something like that, John.
Yeah, no, I've been to both in Chicago. Definitely, went to Marlins Park.
You have now been there in that lovely ballpark where there's nobody sitting in the stands.
Yep, Comerica and Tiger Stadium. I haven't gone and ventured too much outside of Michigan, Florida to check out a baseball game. So it's been, I haven't been to too many, but maybe as you get older, we can tour a couple more. I'm looking forward to hearing the story of Muneesh, wondering why, besides the benefits to his mental health, what he benefited from attending all these ballparks, and maybe some inside stories regarding some things he saw and experienced. That's really interesting. So that means he's got one or two more to go, or he's gone all
Well,
of them?
I mean, there's new ballparks now, so that's the thing. I guess we can ask him that, get his mindset regarding that, and find out the truth, because there are new ballparks now, so probably new ballparks for him to explore. And as time goes on, teams switching over to new ballparks will lead to him having to explore some more cities and more ballparks subsequently, too. And John, before we get to our great guest on this week's episode of Tigers Talk, let me first remind you of the fact that a great sponsor of this very podcast is the Detroit Sports Commission, located in beautiful downtown Detroit. It has been bringing marquee events to our very region, that is the Metro Detroit area and the surrounding area, since 2001 now. So for a long, long time, the Detroit Sports Commission has excelled in bringing marquee amateur and youth sporting events, as well as events such as the Super Bowl, back when the boss himself, Jerome Bettis, Detroit native, came here and won a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Seattle Seahawks. That was fun, and more fun events are on the horizon and will be for the Motor City because of one entity only, the Detroit Sports Commission. To find out more about the Detroit Sports Commission today and every day of the week that ends in Y, as I like to say, please follow the DSC on Twitter and on Instagram at DET Sports. And also make sure to check out the Detroit Sports Commission's terrific website at detroitsports.org. And it is Muneesh Jain joining us on this week's episode of Tigers Talk. Muneesh, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's playoff baseball. You can never be sad during the playoffs.
You can never be sad. I mean, we just had a day where there were 4 playoff games, and I saw you tweeted that out yourself about how darn glad you were, and you can't beat it. It is playoff action in the NL, in the AL, and you have toured all 30 Major League Baseball ballparks, which is incredible that you've done that in your lifetime. And I know that you're not that old of a dude, so we have to dive into that eventually. But first, to start off, let's get to know Muneesh and about your baseball upbringing and how you developed that fandom for baseball. How did it happen for you, Muneesh?
It's a pretty typical story, I think. I'm from Kalamazoo, Michigan originally, and my dad, he would drive me the 2.5 hours to Detroit as often as possible to go to the games at Tiger Stadium. So, I grew up going to Tiger Stadium and watching Trammell and Fielder and all those guys, those late 80s, early 90s teams. That was kind of my introduction to it. And Tiger Stadium, at this point, I've been to, as you said, all 30 stadiums multiple times now, actually. And I've interviewed a lot of old timers and I've interviewed a lot of ball players. And without fail, they all say that Tiger Stadium was the most fun place for them to play in and just the most baseball heavenly place to play in. So, yeah, it's kind of impossible not to be a baseball fan watching a ball game at Michigan and Trumbull.
Where did this idea come from for you of going to all 30 Major League Baseball ballparks?
Yeah, so it's kind of to make a super long story short, baseball basically saved my life. For about 5 years, I had a complete nervous breakdown and I lived in almost near complete isolation. I lost all my friends and family. I pretty much never slept. I was hallucinating. I was getting sober. It was just kind of a really horrifying 5 years for me. And then in 2013, actually it was 2012, watching the Tigers kind of, chase it away and win the pennant, kind of brought me back to life a little bit. And I realized at that moment that I live in New York now, and I was like, nobody in New York even knows that I exist. I've had this dream since I was 6 of visiting all 30 baseball stadiums. If I'm ever going to do it, now is the time. I think I was 28, 29 at the time. And so in 2013, I drove 17,000 miles in 95 days. And I went to a ball game at all 30 parks. And that tour truly and without hyperbole saved my life. My life now is, I couldn't have even imagined living and doing what I'm doing, and even just talking to you, 6 years ago. So that stadium tour is the most important thing I've ever done.
And Muneesh, I read that it helped you battle depression and anxiety. And those two things, have been stigmatized, I know, in the past, depression and anxiety. But now there's been much more light, just brought to those topics of depression and anxiety. And I think it's a big topic that needs to be emphasized more and more. And luckily it has. I can tell it really has. For all the major sports athletes, too, out there, as you know.
No, absolutely. Compared to how, I started going to therapy when I was 15. And back then it was like a government secret. Like I was not, my family was like, do not ever even mention the fact that you're going to see a therapist, because, you would have been, like you said, it was so stigmatized that people would have thought that I was crazy or that I was whatever. But now, like you said, it's starting. It is. I love how much people are much more open about it now, and athletes as well. I can't remember off the top of my head. Was it Doolittle or Bell? It was an A's closer 5-6 years ago, and it may have been Doolittle, because I think it was his wife, I believe, wrote this really beautiful essay, I think, about the Tigers. Possibly it was the Tigers. I can't remember now, but it was the A's basically got eliminated from the playoffs, and whoever the closer was at the time, quote unquote, blew the game. And she wrote this really beautiful piece about just how much that affects him. And, we as fans, we're obviously going to get angry and mad and pissed at our guys for not coming through. But then you have to realize that that's what these guys are doing, and they're the ones actually playing. And I can't even imagine what it's like on that stage to blow a playoff game or a World Series game in front of millions of people, and how that must just weigh on your mind. And so, I think it's fantastic that more men specifically, and athletes as well, are talking about this, just because, look, I'm not ashamed. I just turned 36, and I've had 3 decades of dealing with crippling anxiety and depression and loneliness and whatnot.
And it was about time to shine light on depression and anxiety. And like Kevin Love has brought it to more popularity and more worldwide attention as well. As a big-time NBA guy, NBA star, and he penned a piece for some entity. I forget which one now. I think the Players Tribune. It was a beautiful piece that he wrote, and it really shine some light on the fact that he's dealt with this depression and anxiety. And like you said, as an athlete on the biggest stage, and sometimes on the grandest stage in the playoffs or in the World Series for these guys that play Major League Baseball, they go through a lot, as you were saying, Muneesh, and they could blow a save. And these guys that do, how do they get over it when they do so? And they have to, and it's really tough, It has to be really tough out there.
What clicked for me, I think, was in 2012, when obviously there's a Tigers podcast, and Tigers are my heart. And 2012 was a wonderful year, but it also kind of, was not the year that we all hoped it would be. But I specifically remember being in my apartment, and I was still going through my kind of 5 years of nonsense, my 5 years of isolation. And it was either, I think it was Joaquin Benoit, I believe, who had blown a save at one point. Or maybe it was Papa Grande. I can't remember at this point.
Probably Papa Grande. Valverde was blowing a lot of saves, unfortunately, back then. One of them
who had blown a save. And many of them. But I remember sitting in my apartment, and I was just absolutely pissed off. And I was, just screaming, and I was not happy. And then it just clicked in me. I was like, wait, dude is probably sitting somewhere in a hotel room by himself, knowing that he just blew this save and that he's got to come out and do this again tomorrow. And I really tried to completely put myself in his head and think what he must be thinking at that moment, and how he can't let that, in that moment at least, bring him down. And he's just got to kind of deal with it, and then kind of in the off season maybe figure out how that made him feel and whatnot. But it was such a eye-opening experience to me to be like, this is you can't let this stuff completely destroy you. You've got to learn how to process, feel what you're feeling, and then try to get better.
I mean, he's human too, right? I mean, these pro athletes are human too, which is hard for us as outsiders looking in and as fans that have never played or haven't played at that level to realize that at times, that they're not robots. These guys aren't machines. Even the greatest of the great, I mean, Miguel Cabrera in his prime, Albert Pujols in his prime, when you talk about position players and hitters, terrific hitters, but they're going to have their slumps and their struggles and those mental battles as well as they go along in their careers. And I mean, it's just something. It's something that really people, I think, don't realize enough at times, Muneesh.
No, absolutely. And I get it also, because I mean, we are separate. We are very much separated from it. And we sit and these guys are superheroes to us, and they are larger than life. And what they're doing is so spectacular and so just beautiful and wonderful that it can be hard. And I think I'm super, super lucky now where I've been able to get to know and become friendly with actually some big leaguers and some minor leaguers and whatnot. And so I've been able to talk to them before and after games, or even during games sometimes. And yeah, like you said, it's such a cliche nonsense at this point, but athletes, they're just like us, but still they are. They're just at a certain, whenever I meet someone, no matter who they are, whether they're, famous or whether they're not famous, whatever, no matter who the person is that I meet, the first thing that I do is I picture them as a 10-year-old kid, because at a certain point, I don't care if you're the president of the United States or if you're a homeless person on the street, you were always just a 10-year-old kid trolling around, making silly noises, acting like a fool. And then life turns you into what it turns into, and you make choices and things happen to you and whatever. But at a certain point, we were all just weirdos. I've been going through a bunch of home videos watching me when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm just making a bunch of noises and jumping around like an idiot all the time. So it's just, that's what these guys were, just because now they're wonderful professional athletes doesn't mean they're not still just weirdos.
And you know what? We could go on and on for days and for many shows about this topic. We really could, Muneesh. But now to transition it to this. What you are doing to get other people to all 30 Major League Baseball ballparks. What are you doing in an attempt to get people out there to explore all these different cities throughout the nation and to get to ultimately all 30 Major League Baseball clubs ballparks?
Yeah, so one of the things that a lot of people have come up to me and told me, which is a very sweet thing, is they tell me some version of, man, you're living my dream, or I wish I could do what you're doing, which, is nice to hear. But I just always tell them that it doesn't have to be a dream. Like, it was just a dream to me at one point as well, but it's easier. It's not easy, but it's easier than you think that it is. Now, don't do it in one season. I do not recommend that. That's a crazy person's idea of a good time. And that was, ridiculous. And I don't think I'll ever probably do that again. But there is a way, whether it takes you 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 seasons to do it, you can catch a game at all 30 ballparks. And there's never, you will connect to the game in a way and connect to this country in a way that you never thought possible. So yeah, if you can follow me on my Twitter machine or the Instagram nonsense, it's at Rounding Third MJ. If you just shoot me a DM on there, then basically what I'm doing is completely for free. I don't charge anything for this. It's literally just me wanting to help other baseball fans, accomplish this goal. I will help you plan the tour. I will let you know. I'll help you. Look where to stay in these cities. Look where to sit in some of these stadiums. Try to do it cheaper than maybe. I mean, I don't have any. I can't help you do it cheaper, but I can help you look for deals. I can help you, give you advice on, there's certain cities to stay in that are a little bit cheaper and whatnot, and just kind of pass on the knowledge that I've gained. Because for the last 6 years now, I do probably 20, 25 different parks every season. I'm constantly just going to baseball stadiums around the country, and so pretty much every major league city feels like a home to me now. And so I want to be able to share that with other folks. So yeah, just reach out to me and I will help you somehow, some way. I mean, because planning it is the hardest part, trying to figure out, how do I hit up multiple cities in one trip, because it's the schedule has gotten so crazy. They used to sit down for 2-3 weeks at a time, but now that they've switched over to computer generated schedules, it's madness. So yeah, so just reach out to me on Twitter or Instagram, Rounding Third MJ, and I will help you see all 30 parks.
Excuse me. Sorry for my voice, by the way, too. But you're still a Tigers fan at heart. To this day, I know. And you went to Tiger Stadium, as you said yourself. So you were a young lad when you went to Tiger Stadium, because I know you're still a younger dude yourself. I'm a little bit younger than you, but I did explore Tiger Stadium as well way back in the day when it was opened up and towards the end of its tenure there on the corner of Michigan and Trumbull. And it was stellar, and as you said, heavenly. I mean, had a lot to offer, a lot of amenities, and just the old school, the nostalgic feel you would get when you walked into it. Even for myself, really young, I got to experience some of that. So it was a beautiful ballpark, and now that I bring all that up about Tiger Stadium, how does it compare? And does it compare at all, even to Comerica Park, the current ballpark for the Detroit Tigers?
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem with comparing kind of the older ballparks and the newer ones, because like you said, Tiger Stadium, when you walked into that ballpark, it truly felt like the rest of the world stopped existing. Like you'd cross those turnstiles and all you would hear were baseball noises inside. You could hear just the solid crack of the bat just echoing in your ears, and you could smell the peanuts from, 4 sections away. And I would sit in the double decker, outfield there. And it was perfect. Comerica, I enjoy with all my heart. Comerica, I've been to more games at Comerica just because I lived for many years in Detroit, and I owned a sports magazine there for a little bit. And so I was at Copa quite a bit. And I always make sure that I go to opening day in Detroit every season, because it just feels like the right way to set the tone for the year. And it kind of centers me, and it just feels like home to me. But it's impossible. You cannot, Tiger Stadium is Tiger Stadium. Nothing will compare. It's like when I talk to fans here in New York, Citi Field is wonderful, but a lot of the folks that grew up going to Shea, even though Shea was a pit objectively, and they admit that it was a pit objectively, it's still their home. That's the ballpark that they grew up going to. So I feel it's tough to compare, because the memories that I have of learning about baseball and going to games with my dad and really connecting with him there that's irreplaceable. I'm never going to have that experience until if I'm lucky enough to have a kid my own one day.
So it's about that father-son dynamic, that combo. And typically your father is one that brings you up on the game of baseball or what you love, getting your first love, especially as a sports fan, is what I'm trying to get at. And especially baseball, like for me, same kind of deal, where I had my dad who really helped me become a baseball fan and a sports fan completely. And so we went to Comerica Park. For me, a lot of games at Comerica, and still now, I still reside in Detroit, and I met you at Comerica Park on opening day this season, and that was fun to meet you. And now I want to get to this, your favorite ballpark that you've been to, which is very hard. I know it's very hard for you to pick one.
It is the impossible question. Yep. It's like picking, they're all my babies. It's picking your favorite child. So I kind of have a standard line for this, because how do you compare? Are you comparing it based on aesthetics or amenities or history or whatever? So basically what I say is there's a reason why every ballpark built since 92, and that's including Comerica Park, has either ripped off or borrowed or just used the same architects, and that's Camden Yards in Baltimore. Like, they really redefined baseball-only stadiums, and Janet Marie Smith, who's the woman who designed that, I'm madly in love with. This woman needs to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm very upset that she's not, but she helped with Turner Field and the Fenway renovation. She's at Dodger Stadium right now doing wonderful things, but she really changed the course of how we view baseball. But if you have kids under the age of 10, I say Kansas City, because they've got the fountains in center field and mini golf and all that. If they can't sit through a 3-hour game, the view, at night, PNC Ballpark, it's perfect. Like, I tell non-baseball fans, go see a night game at PNC. I got kicked out of there the first time I went because I wouldn't leave. I stayed 45 minutes after the final pitch. Like, I just wanted to take in the yellow Clemente Bridge and the water, and just, it was gorgeous. If AT&T was, or Oracle, or whatever the heck San Francisco is called now, if the Giants ballpark were 10 degrees warmer, that would be amongst my favorites. But like I said, there's honest to God. Obviously Fenway and Wrigley, you just have to kind of separate into their own category, because that's how you compare those. Like, it's sitting in Fenway, sitting in Wrigley. I sit in seats where 100 years ago, they probably wouldn't have let me sit in those seats. And I'm a brown dude, for those who are just listening to this, and the name Muneesh didn't, clue you in. But so yeah, it's Wrigley and Fenway are gorgeous, but I could give you even the crappy ones. Even the Coliseum is objectively horrible. It's a cement jungle, but they've got the best fans in baseball. I mean, and I'm sorry, Tigers fans. Look, I wear my Tigers gear at all 30 ballparks to this day. I'm wearing a Tigers hat right now, Tigers socks, like all I do. Everyone who knows me, I'm wearing the Old English D. It's branded on me for the rest of my life. So I love Detroit is my heart and will be until the day that I die. But when I put my objective journalist hat on or whatever, it's the A's. I mean, the A's fans are ridiculous. They make so much noise there, win or lose. And the second they build them a 38,000 seat baseball only stadium, I guarantee it. And I don't do predictions, but I will do it this time. They will win a World Series because it will be the scariest place for visiting teams to play.
The great home field advantage, right?
Yeah, because they've got the craziness, the theatricality, and the intensity of Raider Nation, but without the alcohol. So they're super sweet and super nice and super clever, but it's okay. Like I was invited to one of their weddings on the field at the Coliseum. One of their bleacher creatures, Melvin's Misfits, they call them. I got to know him, and he invited me to his wedding which was on the field at the Coliseum. Like these guys are incredibly passionate. But yes, I mean, like every ballpark. That's my super long answer to that. But there's a reason to go to all 30.
I like it. It's fair. It's fair to say what you just did, to go elongated with your answer and to pick many different options and describe all of them and describe how pretty and beautiful they are, all in their own unique way. I mean, like you said, I've been to PNC as well in Pittsburgh, crossing that Roberto Clemente Bridge. It's beautiful, the sightseeing and the field, the park. I loved it when I was there at PNC. And I've been there twice now. So it's really cool to check out a game there at PNC. But then you have the history and the nostalgia with Fenway and Wrigley, two places that I've also been to. And I think everybody that is a Major League Baseball fan or just a baseball fan should go and check out. So, I mean, there's so many different options, but here's another tough one for you now, Muneesh. The best seat at a ballpark is where? And I know it might differ per ballpark, but I guess the on average answer for you, where is the best place to sit in a baseball stadium?
So when I was a kid, it was the absolute upper deck behind home plate, because that was kind of the best way for me to really take in the entire field and be able to watch everything and kind of learn and watch, the ball and where it was going to be. It was easier for me to track the ball off the bat when I was that high up, and it was easier for me to see all the players in the field. But now, and if this is my own personal choice and how I go to ball games, and I'm fully aware that this is probably going to make me look like a bougie idiot, and I'm sorry, but I go to 100+ games a year now at ballparks around the country, and so I've gotten kind of stupidly fancy. But so now I pretty much will sit, a couple rows behind home plates or a couple rows behind one of the dugouts. It used to be like I used to love sitting 1 or 2 rows behind the home team's dugout, but then the netting, which I'm fully, aware of why we need the netting, and the netting is protecting people, and that's I've been to so many games where people have broken their noses, or they had to stop a game in Milwaukee once where I was at, where this poor woman it crushed her orbital bone basically for 10 minutes. They stopped the action. So I get it for safety reasons, but visually speaking, they need to figure out a better way to not obstruct the view, because those best seats in the house that were, a row or two behind the home or, home or away dugouts, now I sit 10 or 12 rows up behind one of the dugouts just because the net isn't as obtrusive there. But yeah, I'm annoyingly bougie when it comes to going to ballparks now, and I'm prepared and willing to hit any hate that I get from people, because I'm the worst. I know that.
But if you have the opportunity, why not? I mean, I remember you telling me on opening day at Comerica Park that you hung out with Jon Hamm. Yes, Jon Hamm at a ball game and watched the game with him. What has that experience been like with him in the past?
Well, I mean, it's just thanks to kind of a weird circumstances of events. I've become friendly with most of my friends now are actually actors and in that kind of world. And so John's a buddy, and we went to a World Baseball Classic game in LA. And in LA, unlike Detroit, Detroit still hasn't bowed to this pressure. In Detroit, quote unquote, normal average fans can still just sit behind home plate. You just buy a ticket there. They might be expensive, but you can get it. But in LA, they've got that extra separate section that a lot of ballparks have now where it's, thousands of dollars and it's security and all that stuff. And so, yeah, we're going to a game with Jon. It's him basically saying, hey, I'm just going to call MLB and they're going to give me some tickets and whatnot. And so you go and it's fun and it's great because Jon is a psycho crazy baseball fan. Like he's our type of baseball fan. This is the type of dude that will just be listening to 30-year-old radio broadcasts of baseball games in the off season. Like he is a true passionate fan. And so it's great to sit there and chat with him during the game. But when you're with someone like him, it is kind of a constant stream of people asking for selfies and Facebook Lives. And because he's so nice, he obliges to all of them. But it's a bit of a mixed bag. Like it's super great because he's just, him. There's a stand-up comic buddy of mine, Greg Proops, who also is a walking just encyclopedia of Negro League knowledge. And he might be the smartest baseball fan that I know. And so going to games with him, similar thing. I'll just sit there like a kindergartner with my hands in my head in my hands, just listening to him wax poetic about, Satchel Paige. But then you have to deal with a stream of people stopping him and asking him for autographs and selfies and whatnot. So it's, like I said, I'm not complaining. It's awesome. It's not me. It's them that they want to talk to. So I just have to kind of sit back there like the creeper and not getting their shot.
Well, nice hanging with the celebs, and it must be nice being Jon Hamm. I mean, he's multi-talented, and then he's a pure baseball fan, like you said. I've heard that before you even said it yourself, Muneesh. So, I mean, it must be just crazy fun, and I know you have to deal with the fans and all that, with the selfies, but anyways, to sum it all up, I got one more thing for you here. I'm going to leave you with this, a two-part question, actually. Your thoughts on the Tigers as they currently stand, and then also your World Series prediction.
All right, well, I'm going to unfortunately disappoint you with the second part of that question. I do not do predictions, especially in baseball, just because it is, to me, the biggest. It's who nobody knows. And if we were going to track everybody's predictions and then hold them responsible for you got this right and this right, and now you're still allowed to be a public figure, then maybe I would do predictions. But everyone just throws out their asinine ideas and it generates clicks and airtime, but it truly doesn't mean anything. It's probably going to be LA, Houston, or LA, New York. That's what the fact, that's what on paper says, but who the hell knows? I have absolutely no idea. And what I love about the Tigers not being in the playoffs is I just get to sit back and watch and not have that horrifying pit in my stomach where I'm just, loving it, but also in tremendous pain every second of the day. So my phone blows up, or like, this is my favorite time of the year, this and opening day, because my phone just explodes with literally hundreds of different people from different fan bases coming out of the woodwork and wanting to talk to me about baseball because they know I'm always going to be up and watching. And so I get to kind of experience everybody's happiness and sadness while, keeping myself protected. But as far as the Tigers are concerned, honest to God, so I grew up, like I was one when the Tigers last won the World Series, so I can't really own that one. I don't really have any, a recollection of that, obviously. So my entire childhood, the Tigers were the worst team in baseball. They were absolute hot garbage. I remember watching every single inning of that 119 loss season and being incredibly proud of them for winning 5 of their last 6 against the Twins there to not break the Mets 62 record. So them giving me a decade of 2 pennants and division titles and sustained success, I was incredibly proud and happy for them. And so if it means taking a couple of years to kind of be hot garbage again, I mean, this is the Tigers I'm used to watching. Like, I'm not used to them being good all the time. So it's been kind of fun to watch the younger kids try to come up. I'm hoping beyond hope that Miggy can start DHing and hopefully just, I want him to have maybe not a David Ortiz resurgence, because that's kind of asking for maybe a little bit too much, but at least like a Maglio or Ordonez or something. Like, give me something where he can go and still produce on a day-to-day basis. Just And I'll never tell an athlete what to do because it's their body and their life. And if he wants to be on the field, then that's what he should be able to do. But personally, I would enjoy and I would prefer if we could extend the man's career just a little bit and let him play us. Yeah, the Tigers are going to be, hot garbage for, I don't know, 2 years, maybe more, 2 years more. I'm expecting another 100-loss season next year, maybe just 90 after that. But I'm super excited about Casey Mize, and I'm super excited about some of the other young kids we've got in the farm system that, I love Dave Dombrowski with all my heart, but he cannibalized our system, obviously, so we had to rebuild it. And I don't know. I'm looking forward to see who we're going to draft next year. I'd like a bat, but what do I know? I mean, maybe another arm is what we need. So yeah, like I said, I honestly feel like this is an exciting time to be a Tigers fan. I know it's tough to watch 162 games of a losing team, but I think there's always something positive you can find in every game, whether it's even just one guy's performance at the plate or on the mound, or just watching these guys slowly get better and progress.
More losing coming next year, but you know what? The beauty of it, you can walk all around Comerica Park. There's so many empty seats.
Yeah,
but anyways,
tickets are cheaper.
Hey,
that's nice. Tickets are starting to get real expensive there for a minute. So
yeah, now they're not. They're not so expensive, Muneesh. They are not. To sum it all up.
Literally, I mean, I know that I live a very weird life now, and I'm very grateful and lucky to live the life that I live. But truly, I really, really just want everybody out there to go to as many live games as humanly possible. Just because when I go to my 100+ games a year, I'm rarely alone. I always will take a friend with me, and I'll always take a new friend or whatever. And I'm not sure if what this is going to look like next season, but screw it. I'll announce it kind of here on your podcast. I'm still working out the details on this, but if you do follow me on Twitter and Instagram and whatnot, I'm thinking about starting a new project next year where I start just taking random fans to ball games in cities, across the country. So if you reach out to me on there, it's something that I want to start doing more of, because truly baseball, like I said, baseball saved my life, and I want to be able to share it with other people. And, if I'm lucky enough to be able to do what I do, I'd be a real heel to not share it and to not try to give other people as many great experiences as possible. So go to live baseball games, whether the Tigers are losing 100 games or winning 100 games. Just live baseball is the most fun experience on the planet. Ride the carousel, get some mini helmet ice cream, eat a coney dog, just do something.
Keep watching baseball. And with that, Muneesh, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks for all the time, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much, buddy. I'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome,
Bye.
man. Have a great day. I'll talk to you.
Wow, a lot of good insights there. Went a little long, Vito, but it's not too bad because he had a great message to say in regards to mental health, baseball. Wow. He had a lot to say, and very intriguing.
He said it all, baby, right? I think Howard Stern likes saying that, right? I think he's coined that phrase before. He says that to his guests. And then he keeps going on, though.
No doubt
which
about
is funny. So I did there, too. Sorry, a little bit long-winded and elongated.
No doubt about it,
anyways.
but the lights got to go out. Our time is up for this edition of Tigers Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are available. You can follow Vito on Twitter at Vito Jerome. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. We'll be back next Wednesday, I believe, for the latest edition of Tigers Talk. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Talk to you then. Adios.